Have you ever seen a really bright student just get completely stuck on a complex task? It's confusing, right? Well, today we're going to dive into the solution, this amazing teaching concept called cognitive scaffolding. It's all about giving the right support at exactly the right time to help every single learner unlock what they're truly capable of.
So let's start with that big question that so many of us have seen happen. Why is it that students who are clearly smart and capable sometimes just hit a wall when they're faced with a big, complicated assignment? What is really going on in that moment of frustration?
Well, the answer usually comes down to this kind of hidden hurdle, and it goes way beyond just a student's natural ability. See, it's not normally a lack of knowledge that's stopping them. The real challenge, as we're about to find out, is often a struggle with the process of thinking itself.
Okay, this slide just lays it out so perfectly. On one side, you have the expert learner. Their mind is kind of like a well-oiled machine, right? It just automatically plans and monitors and fixes mistakes as it goes. But on the other side, you see the struggle. For so many learners, that internal management system can feel like total chaos. They need our help to manage the thinking part of the task.
So what does that internal struggle actually feel like inside the brain? To really get why students get so overwhelmed, we have to unpack this key idea called cognitive overload. I want you to think of a student's brain like a computer with a limited amount of RAM. That's their working memory. Now imagine you're asking that computer to do everything at once. Remember all the instructions, plan the next step, find the perfect words, structure the answer, and avoid mistakes, That working memory just gets maxed out. It's like running way too many programs at the same time. Eventually, the whole system just crashes.
And that brings us to the core of it all, cognitive load. It's simply the total amount of mental effort being used in that working memory at any given time. When that load gets too heavy, that's when you see the frustration. That's when students disengage and learning just grinds to a halt. So the takeaway here is simple. Our job is to find ways to reduce that cognitive load.
So, how do we actually do that? How do we reduce the load? Well, the most powerful tool we have is to take that invisible process of expert thinking and make it visible. And this is where the incredible power of teacher modeling comes into play.
This is a strategy that's often called a think aloud. So instead of just giving out the instructions, the teacher actually narrates their own thought process out loud. They talk through the steps, the questions they're asking themselves, how they make decisions. It's like giving students a guided tour of an expert's mind while it's at work.
And when students hear this internal monologue over and over and over again, they start to internalize it. As you can see here, they learn what questions to ask themselves, how to plan before they just jump in, how to check their own work, and even how to avoid those common mistakes. It becomes a mental script they can eventually run all on their own.
Now, modeling is the foundation, for sure, but we can support it with a whole toolkit of practical strategies that are designed specifically to reduce that cognitive load we've been talking about.
First up, worked examples. Oh man, these are fantastic. Why? Because they show the student exactly what a finished, successful task looks like. By taking away all the pressure of making complex decisions from scratch, students can focus all of their mental energy on just one thing, understanding how the process works.
And then, of course, we have scaffolds. And yeah, it's just like scaffolding on a building. These are temporary supports that give structure and a sense of safety while the student is busy building their new skills. They lower anxiety and they make success so much more likely.
And scaffolds can come in all shapes and sizes. A simple checklist can break a massive task into these small, manageable bites. Sentence starters can help a student get over that blank page paralysis. And partially completed examples, well, they give students a running start so they're not beginning from absolute zero. Every single one is a tool designed to lighten that cognitive load.
Okay, now this next part is absolutely key. The goal of all this support isn't to create dependence. It is the exact opposite. The ultimate goal here is to build strong, independent learners, and that involves the art of carefully, gradually fading that support away over time. This journey to independence, it happens in stages. You start with really heavy scaffolding, where the teacher's providing a ton of support. That's the I do phase. Then you move into guided practice, the we do phase, where the responsibility is shared. And then slowly, one scaffold at a time is removed until, finally, the student can do the entire task all by themselves.
But the most important part of this whole process, it is not a rigid timeline. Fading support has to be responsive to the individual learner. You only remove a scaffold when a student shows you they're ready. And you know what?
For some, that journey is going to take a bit longer, and that is perfectly okay.
So, to bring this all together, strategies like modeling and worked examples and scaffolds, they aren't just helpful add-ons. They're not just nice to have. For many learners who struggle with managing the thinking demands of school, these supports are absolutely essential for them to access complex tasks and ultimately to find success.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. By making thinking visible and by carefully managing cognitive load, we can fundamentally change the entire learning experience. So the real question for all of us is, how can we apply these ideas to make the path to learning truly accessible for every single mind?